I did the thing again, and let's see how it goes over here. Let's hit the button and try and move on and do the thing and the stuff. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It is so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is September 9th, 2025. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? How's it going out there? Let me bring on the chat room. They're of course right over here. Hello. We're broadcasting live on Twitch and YouTube. I forgot to put the YouTube feed up over here. Give me a second. I got to put the YouTube up over on my other screen. Right, it's over here. Yeah. And I forgot to change the title and stuff. That's fine. We'll do the thing. Hey there. Let me say hello. Ellie-Face, hello. You are early. How's it going? Robson Previato. Patty Boy is here. Greetings to you in Glasgow. C-Sharp Titan, how's it going there? 12 months with us on the resub. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you appreciate it. Reg is here in Aurora, Colorado. Hello. That's funny. Whatever. You watched one of my previous videos, how I ended the stream early. Yes, everything is going well. There's been a couple of reorganizations, a couple of organization shifts that have happened at work, and just needing to keep up with what's going on. So that's a thing. And in large enterprises, in corporations, big corporations, it happens a lot. And particularly after the end of the fiscal year, and Microsoft's fiscal year ends in, and go ahead, take a look. There it goes. Microsoft's fiscal year ends at the end of June. July 1st is the beginning. So then there's a little bit of planning.
The analysis is complete.
Go ahead.
Philadelphia Phillies Liberty Bell hat has been identified with high confidence.
I know. But that's not all. It's also their spring training hat. You fool! Anyways, so you see July is a bit of planning. August, folks get their evaluations, their year-end rewards, those types of things. And we see in August, September is when we see reorganizations happen. Folks get promoted, folks get shuffled around, organization changes, new goals have been set, and here's the direction we're going to go, and gets rolled out to the organization. So that's a thing, and it just so happened for the first time in almost 7 years, it was my turn to be reorganized and moved around. So, all right, fine. We dealt with that. It did get that, Svekos. It got the location of is it Vlaanderen in Belgium? Yes, we got that plotted. Give me a second here. I'll put the map up and shortly. And I think we got C-Sharp Titan down there in Melbourne. Yes. So we'll take a look at the map here in a second. Urban Blaster, hey, good morning to you. A little bit earlier than you signed in as well. Wow, we got a bunch of our mid to late afternoon folks signing in early. I feel special. Let me see. There's been a couple things going on. I really don't want to talk about politics. I don't. The folks in Wrexham, congratulations. Another win in the championship over the weekend. Fantastic. They'll be playing, isn't there a game in the EFL Cup this week? Is it this week or next week? That they're playing in the third round of the EFL Cup. Very exciting to see because it's a winnable game against Reading. So all the best to the folks at Wrexham. Starting to make some noise in the EFL Championship. Yeah, and see where that leads to. I do need to tell you that I have to stop a little bit early today, about 11:15, because the meetings are coming fast and furious for .NET Conf. 1 second here, let me just make sure I set my reminder. Set a reminder. No, wait. That's not what I wanted. Set a timer to execute at 11 a.m. There we go. Oh, only an hour 40. We're going to need to go through this quick. So I've got it. No, stop. Go away. Let me see. So that was sports. I spent the weekend out at Penn State camping again. Fantastic time in the camper. I really enjoy that. We adopted a new puppy. I didn't want to do this right away. I really wanted to wait. The girls, the family, wanted to go and take some time at the local SPCA, just going around, petting, showing some love to the animals that wait to be adopted. And we went around there, and one of the dogs just took to us immediately. Literally showed us so much love and was everything that quite frankly we were scarred from our previous dog. Like, he wanted his space. He didn't want us to touch him. He didn't show us any kind of emotion. And this dog took right to us and did all of those things that we had been missing for a few years. So Friday morning we brought him home. I think we're going to stick with the name that he had at the rescue, and his name is Banana. So he's a Labrador mix. He's actually in the bathroom, just off camera here to my right. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for the resub.
Steve_Elliott just resubscribed for 62 months.
Yeah, 62 months. Thank you so much for that support. Wow. Thank you. So we adopted Banana. He's a Labrador mix. We've sent out a DNA test to see if we can get some more background on some of the other things. We know he likes to howl. And when he's been in the bathroom here yesterday, if I had had a meeting in the morning, there would have been a howling dog in the background for a good 15 minutes. I just let him go, do his thing, howling, and we'll see if he decides to get into that again today. So, 20 nicknames later, yes. Right, that's the funny thing. My daughter's already started to call him. It's a boy. Started to call the dog Nanner, short for banana. The various iterations on Nana, Banana, Nanner, yes, they've all been coming around, and we'll see what shakes out of that. So things are going well. C# Titan with a question here. Any news on the visor glasses? So there wasn't any big news in the last week. What we are seeing, what we do have confirmation of, is the visor glasses are getting Android XR. Android XR releases, according to Google, in about 2 weeks, late in September. However, they also announced on their blog that their launch partner is Samsung. And Samsung's devices aren't available to purchase, and they're called the Muha device, Muong, I forget what it's, Mu something. They're not available to purchase until the second week of October. Knowing typical business practice, a launch partner has an exclusive window where they're the only ones that are allowed to be purchased. We believe that means that Visor's all ready to go. They're waiting for the latest operating system updates. They're not going to ship until at least that exclusivity window is over. We suspect that could be as early as November. There was a conversation with the Immersed CEO on Discord, and he didn't confirm those exact dates, but he said that some of the folks were on the right path. So we think we're going there. Yeah, I don't want to talk about politics either. And quite frankly, the federal government is not honoring visas right now. Folks that have temporary work visas in the United States, they are arresting and checking the papers afterwards and then releasing and apologizing to the governments. This happened with folks from South Korea that were working in a battery manufacturing plant in North Carolina. It is disastrous what this administration is doing. Nobody is holding them to accountability for this. Not the United States Congress, and the the courts were holding them to it and saying you can't do this. The federal government, quite frankly, ignored those court rulings, appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court. And see, here's the thing. When they appeal things all the way to the Supreme Court, it gets them a couple extra months of still ignoring those rulings. When it gets to the Supreme Court caves in and rules whatever the executive says. It's awful. It is awful. We do not like it. We are not happy about it. The ratings are, the approval ratings are 35%. 35%. No. This is not what we're looking for. So put on my Gunner Pinnacles. I really like these. Nice and wide, good wrap, and feels really good there. And I'll bring up the map here and we'll take a look. A couple folks sharing their location out on the big map that our friend Charlie plots out there. Yeah, we've got Sao Paulo down there. We've got Melbourne. And when I zoom into Europe up there we go. We've got Birmingham. We've got Glasgow. And over here we have Vlaanderen? So thanks so much for sharing locations. I haven't done any work on the map or the logic around it. That's going to be coming up probably Thursday. Hey, how you doing there, Ice Cream Stick Model in Finland? There we go. I'm going to get some music playing in the background here, and then we're going to dive into this. I'm not going to discuss... I don't want to discuss politics. It's disastrous. It's not something that many of us are happy about. But if it's something that it is a question that I know many of you are from outside the States watching, all we can do is all we, the rank and file citizens, can do is wait until 2026 when we can vote again. And even then, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, the folks who work in the United States on visa, what we're seeing is that you do not have a guarantee that you are going to be able to operate safely in the United States now. That's what we are seeing. And that's going to crush the economy as folks realize that and decide, you know what? Not only are we not doing business with you anymore, we're not going to train you. We're not going to move anything there. We don't want anything to do with you. So, how am I affected by the reorg alignment? Vice presidents changed management of organizations way further up in the chain. Right now, nothing changes. Right now, 4 or 5 people up the reporting chain, somebody different. Instead of this person, it's that person. And there's no new direction until probably at least January, because we have products releases, things that we're trying to finish into current projects. C-Sharp Josh.
65 months.
65 months, more than 5 years with us. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that support. There we go. There we go. Am I going to Portugal? Yes, Robson with a question about the Portugal event.
Janice
UNESCO
just resubscribed for 35 months.
Thank you so much. 35 months with us. Hello, hello. Nobody in North America yet. kick off the tour. So Robson Previato is asking about Portugal. So
Look, Fritz, I can see you're really upset about this.
no, I'm not.
I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
I've got coffee. Will that work for you? So Azure Dev Summit is the third week in October. I will be there giving 2 talks about Blazor and Azure, Blazor, Azure, and Aspire. I'm also teaching a full-day workshop all about getting started adding .NET Aspire to your existing applications. Nick Chapsis is also there teaching a workshop about building cloud-native application systems. That's great. Doing his thing. I'm going to show you how to enhance and work with your existing applications. Hey, self-learner, you need to give me a little bit of an introduction. You can't just say a location. Say I'm watching from, good evening from, something like that, and it will plot the map. Where can you see the dates? If you go to AzureDevSummit.com, I believe. Yeah, there it is. It's in Lisbon. I'll grab that. Bring it over here. There you go. European Microsoft Azure Conference for Developers, 70 speakers, 100 sessions, 4 workshops. Hey, that's one of those is me. So, yeah, look at that. We're going to put some vice presidents on the top row. Yay, 3 Microsoft vice presidents. Mads Torgerson. Mads just celebrated 20 years at Microsoft. Really cool stuff. And an amazing tenure and contributions to technical community. Over to workshops, and you'll see, there's mine right there. Enhance your application system with .NET Aspire. Hey, how you doing there, Joystick Nick? Hello, hello. Yep. Didn't find that one. So the dates are October 13 to 16 in Lisbon. This is a post-event workshop. This is actually on Thursday the 17th. Do I have that right? No, Thursday the 16th. Yeah, I fly on the 17th. So, you've been watching Alien Earth on Disney Plus. It is C# Titan. There's a handful of us that are really hooked on it, and that 5th episode of Alien Earth was amazing. Just amazing. A real throwback to the original Alien movie. So good. So that's what's going on with that event. Hey, Sugarman in Winter Gardens, Florida. Look at that. We got a couple folks in the States. There you go. Winter Gardens, Florida. And over here, Area 51. We got Joystick Nick. We got you over here in Area 51. That's covered. Hype Train's still running for another minute and a half. If you're watching on Twitch, we're at 50% of the way to completing level 1 of the Hype Train. Thank you so much for that support. Really appreciate it. Yeah. How many years have I been working at Microsoft? Asks C# Titan. I've been at Microsoft now for it'll be 11 years in November that I will be completing. So I have the 5 and 10 year crystals on my shelf over here. I've been wanting to turn around the cameras and things in the room. The camera that I normally use when I'm at the standing set is this camera here in front of me. Or I have another camera on the side that I use. I want to put this camera that's on the side, it's on my bookshelf. I want to put it on a tripod and put it over here in front of my closets so that I have a nice set with a bookshelf in the background that has trophies and things. And I've got some posters from some events, including a poster from the first event that I keynoted at that I'd like to have hanging on the wall behind me for one view, and then I can still use this camera when I'm at the standing set behind me. So I've got some options there that I'm trying to work on. But M Rocks Forever in Ghent, Belgium. Did we get that? Oh yeah, look at that. We got 2 Belgians there, and because it's 2 so close, they're grouped together. Loviz!
This cheered 500.
Thank you so much for that cheer. Hello. Thank you very much. Chris Funk with the
Chris Funk
resub.
21 just resubscribed for 50 months.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the resub, the cheers. Yeah. You have a coworker watching Alien Earth also? It's so good. It's so good. New episode tonight. There was something I have on the schedule tonight. No matter. Emma Site, Saba, Caribbean, Netherlands. Do we have? I don't think we got that one. No. Still having a good view of the neighboring islands, St. Martin Station, St. Kitts, St. Barth. Oh, Emma Site, you're making me jealous there. C Sharp Titan followed up. Do I still learn new things? I certainly do. Go ahead, take a look at that. I'd need to do some rag with the hat detection so that it has some details.
The analysis is complete.
Yes, I know.
Philadelphia Phillies Liberty Bell hat has been identified with high confidence.
That's right. It's not a T in the center. There's no T in the center. It's just a normal Liberty Bell. Anyways. Chris Funk in Rockwall, Texas. Yes. Let me see here. Hey, Eddie in Charlotte, North Carolina. There we go. How's it going, Eddie? We're going to get into those dynamic auth providers here in a minute. Hey, self-learner. There we go. That should plot. Didn't get it. Oh, I didn't get it. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna grab that text and put it into my notes so that I can analyze and fix that for next time. Hey, Mythin. Hello. So, the map's doing its thing, and I want to get into this idea of dynamic authentication providers. This is something that's a little bit off the rails, and I think some of our tech friends and some of our other live streamer friends are going to appreciate what I'm trying to do here, because the problem that we're having with TagsApp is that we want to be able to connect and authenticate other authentication providers after the application is running. So how do we do that? How do we get the application running, let you key into a box somewhere? Here's my keys to be able to log in and continue processing, and the site not having to restart, right? The way that ASP.NET Core runs, you set up all your authentication providers at application startup. The application starts, everything is configured, and away you go. But if everything is configured up front, how do you go back and reconfigure it without having to restart all the applications? Having to restart all the applications when something gets updated, that's a pain in the neck. How do you do that? I started on a bit of code that uses a technique that I'm calling dynamic authentication providers. Having your morning coffee before you do some Power Apps work. Yeah, Power Apps is kind of lame, but I understand the need for it. 222, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. You just started learning how to code. Content is helpful, so thanks. You're welcome. This is going to be a little advanced technique we're going to do here in a minute, but the way it connects into authentication is going to be interesting. You think the map would be cool to add to TagsApp so we can see who logs in from where? That's right, C# Titan. That's right. That was one of the big things that we were working on for about a week and a half. And we have for milestone 1 out here, add the map. So that's going to be done in the next week or so. Thank you so much for the follow. Where'd it go? Give me that activity feed. Gleb, welcome in. It combined you with Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So the challenge with the map is when we're zoomed out, kind of grouping folks together. So what you find actually is when we're zoomed all the way out, it groups everybody in the states into one cluster. It groups everybody in Florida into one cluster. Who do we got over here? Oh, there you go. So Chuck Beasley in Atlanta. See, Atlanta kind of gets grouped into the cluster there as well. But when we zoom in, it expands. And I very much believe that for this stream, I'm going to set up some sort of an online mirror of this map so that as the stream is going on, you can see the locations pinned on the map somewhere that you can navigate to online. So I'll kick off the tour here. Mythin has a Blazor routing question. Let me go to... Where'd it go? Rumor says you have to have some experience with Blazor. I may have some experience. You've got some multi-tenant middleware that is perfectly able to determine the tenant based on the URL. Fantastic. However, now I would like Blazor to be able to handle mysite.com/tenant1/home. I've asked ChatGPT, but it seems like editing the context request path property doesn't do the trick. mysite/home works, mysite/tenant tenant1/home doesn't. No, this is not Mapbox. This is a tool that I built, and it runs on Leaflet.js. I need a little bit more context there, Mythin. What are you trying to accomplish? You've got the tenant. What are you trying to do with the tenant's information? How is that impacting what the functionality you're trying to deliver? Help me out. Give me a little bit more context there, because what you're trying to do is quite frankly it's a perfectly supported scenario that you should be able to do, but changing the path as you're processing is probably not what you want to do. You may want to do a response redirect without forcing a reload, but actually doing the redirect so that it picks up a different location. But I'm trying to get a little bit more of an idea of what your configuration is to look at there. Users can be part of multiple tenants, so making it part of the URL helps you understand which tenant they would like to see. Okay. Go on. Let me work with you on this afterwards. This is a little bit more in depth, and I need to see some code samples. Can we connect on Discord and talk a little bit further about it? What you're trying to do is very doable. And we can get you straight on that. So, sort of a restful approach, yeah. I think I understand where you're going. Let's take a look at some code on Discord. Reach out to me, send me a private message if you don't want to share the code. Share a code snippet, and we can dig further into that. So, the idea, the feature that we're trying to implement that has led me to this idea of dynamic authentication providers is I want to be able to have an admin screen, some process that allows you to key in your client ID, client secret for these providers when you're setting them up. You want to be able to authenticate and log in and deploy your own copy of TagsApp, and you want to be able to authenticate with a Microsoft account, a GitHub account, a Google account, a Twitch account, so on and so forth. How do we do that? How do we get those into the mix? And I did some chatting with the ChatGPT, with the Copilot. And it gave me some ideas here around creating configuration options. But interestingly, there's this idea of, well, I want to update my auth settings. But And then the last thing to do is restart the app pool. I went into that a little bit further, and I came up with this idea of middleware. And the idea being that a request delegate is executing. We're in the middle of a request pipeline, and we're inspecting and interacting with it. And if it's requesting to do an external login, this is the address that the external login happens at. Perform external. Here it is. Right, so when you click the login button for Google, GitHub, what have you, it actually hits this API endpoint, right? It does a post into this endpoint that says, I want to log in with that type. So it's going to say, hey, my return URL is the external login page. And we're going to build a relative URL to that. We're going to configure the external authentication properties for that provider, and then challenge for that provider and route you out. So the only place that we need to know the client ID and client secret is when we're going to this thing. So when we're going to this thing, as that request is happening, right, we're going to know on the form the provider is being passed in, right? We know from form there's the provider. So we're going to grab that provider, go grab the provider configuration, and if we don't have provider information, we're going to reroute. And we're just going to check to see if we have authentication information. That's the first piece. The next piece of this is actually setting that client ID and secret as it routes through. So when it does that route, we need to pass in the client ID and client secret. So this is the discussion that I was having with Copilot to do this. And it's what Copilot wanted to do is... why did you move on me? Nope, there it is. Is go and configure all the providers. All the providers that we have code for, go configure them with some dummy content. And then there is a check that we're going to do that sets those. And where'd it go? Where'd it go? Hang on. I was setting those values. It's not invoke. There was another event that I wired up on the provider. You know it's here somewhere. Give me a minute. That's where I added the middleware. No. Did I lose? I hope I didn't lose it. There was a bit of middleware. There's an event that I was listening for. Where'd it go? There's the invoke. Yeah. Registers the middleware and... configuration management. Yeah. That's not the thing. Yeah. this. On authorization code received. So on add external, that's where it was. Here. This bit right here. So when I'm going to set up a dummy provider for each one of these, Microsoft, GitHub, LinkedIn, Google, and it's actually going to configure using those libraries, those accounts, and it's going to pass in some bogus set of options that basically says, if we have a client ID, use it. Otherwise, string empty. I'm wiring up the on redirect to authorization endpoint. So when this event triggers when it goes to redirect to go authorize, I'm going to go figure out what's the client ID and secret that we have in configuration. If we do have a client ID and if we don't have a client ID and we don't have a secret, go to some provider not configured. You shouldn't have gotten here. Update the options. If we do have them, update the client ID and all that stuff and finish flowing through to the redirect URI. Continue. And actually, that should probably not be a redirect at that point. Is there a scroll bar in the tabs area? Yeah, it's a little scroll bar right there. Fantastic, Mythin. So I'm not sure that event is actually going to work. We're going to figure it out, though. We're going to figure it out. So, Ice Cream Stick Model asks, is there a good tutorial how to implement multi-tenancy for ASP.NET Identity with Blazor? Separate tenants have different Active Directory. See, when folks ask about multi-tenant configuration, there are two primary ways to do multi-tenant configuration. Two primary ways. Data store per tenant, or one tenant separated by key. I've done both in the past. Trying to do different Active Directory per tenant, that introduces another kettle of fish. You're now looking at B to C at that point. And I don't know where there is a good one of those. My apologies. All right. So I'm not sure if this is the right one, and quite frankly, I'm going to end up going into debug mode on Visual Studio so that I can step through this and see exactly what happens there. It does build. I want to step through and see if it hits there properly. So let me roll over. We're going to use the Visual Studio 2022. Yep, that one. Jump in and do some work debugging and looking at this. And if we get it right, what we'll be able to do is set those configuration keys after the fact. Come on. What are you doing? Set those configuration keys after the fact, and they'll load and start working. Yes, the Visual Studio. How you doing there, President? Not sure. Come on now. Put me back in my midnight purple. Thank you. Appreciate it. There we go. So I want to be in here. And we're going to take a look at that in just a second. I see I still have BattleNet, and is Steam still running? I usually don't close Steam. Nope, evidently I did close Steam. How you doing there, Hunter Boys Club? Hello. It's where you spend your entire day? Okay. I did finish watching K-pop Demon Hunters last night. I see why the kids really like this one. I see why I say when I say kids, I literally mean kids in school. My daughter, who's an art teacher in elementary school, she says all the kids are talking about it and they sing the songs from the movie. I get it. I get it. So, you like the purple theme? Yeah, this is it's the cyberpunk theme. Midnight Purple 2077. There you go. Cyberpunk is the theme that I typically use in Visual Studio Code. So, all right. So in here, this action, this is where I think it's going to run. We'll see. We'll see. Usually what you've seen for multi-tenancy with multiple Active Directories is some sort of proxied IDP federation in the mix. Yeah, that's a little bit of what BTC does. And you need to set up the trust between them. Yep. It's not just the kids. How you doing there, Eldorian? Your wife is obsessed with it. When you went to Dragon Con, it was everywhere. I've heard this as well. I've heard that you are going to see how many little girls with the long purple braided hair. Oh, yeah. Is it based in HTML? What based in HTML? Give me some context there, Hunter Boys Club. Just a reminder, when you're asking questions in chat, there is a lot of messages. Avoid using pronouns. Give me as much context as possible. It helps me identify. You've implemented multi-tenancy with web forms and Katana. Ooh. Where every tenant can have multiple different Active Directory or SSO side by side. Ugh. It does feel harder to do in Blazor. Because they've changed it. They've changed the identity model in Blazor 3 times. And that doesn't make it easy for anyone. Take care, Svekos. Thank you so much. I'm only going to be on for about another hour here. Your daughter loves it, and she's in 2nd grade. See that, John? Hey, more power to him. I find it's interesting that my daughter now, who's an elementary school teacher, is coming back and saying, you got to see these things. Okay. The action of Microsoft Online 12. Oh, here. And gosh, can we simplify this? Can we get rid of that? Get me my using statement here. Thank you. So it's an action of action. Oh boy. So it's an action that it's a delegate that has a pointer to a delegate that works with the options. So what's happening here is I'm going to execute and do this thing, and inside of it, actually, I don't need the second because that is, yeah, I only need one of the, right? Hang on. Yeah, I only need one of those. You're right. There was a design before this that had an indirection in there. So I think you're right on that. And even then, it's an action that's passing in OAuth options. Yeah, and why don't you like this? Oh, no. I was right. So it's a delegate. Build Microsoft account. It's passing that action in. And this is an action of actions. So it's going to do add Microsoft account here. And the options it configures is all of this. So, yeah, we're going to run in just a second here. Oh, yeah, love the purple. Love the purple backgrounds. It's richer. I think it gives a little bit more... It looks a little bit cooler and kind of pops when you're watching this on your phone. I think that's the things. Let's see what happens when we run this. So, yeah, I don't want to run analyzers. Just do it. I know I'm using Visual Studio again. Can you believe it? And I'm also going to want to go to the middleware. So this bit in here is intended to block if the provider's not configured. So I'm actually going to put a breakpoint there. Yeah, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Where did you... You're still starting here. All right. Is Tags app source code on GitHub? Yes. Yep. And it is right there. VS, Visual Studio. Here we go. Do I find that I prefer Visual Studio Code over Visual Studio? I've been doing a lot of it over the past, doing a lot of Visual Studio Code development over the past few weeks, past 2 months, and it's been really good for me, I think. All right, hang on. So, which provider is this? The Microsoft provider. Now, so it's doing the configuration. Good. I want to put a breakpoint in here on that redirect. So go ahead, finish your configuration. Go ahead. Do your thing. Here we go. Hunter Boys Club, is that the Saja Boys? Is that it? You prefer GitHub Copilot in VS Code, but everything else in Visual Studio? I get it. Do I have any code for Discord bots app or for creating my own? I did a session showing how to build a Discord bot on the .NET YouTube. Yeah, I'd have to dig it up, but youtube.com/.net. And if you look for the stream series, the playlist is called C# with C# Fritz. And I believe I can probably jump right to it. Yep. I don't have a link to the YouTube. And I think this actually stops a bit of the way in. Yeah. Like, I stop right there writing the doc. So if you go youtube.com.net and you look at the playlist, there is a C# with C# Fritz playlist. Looking. There I am. I don't need to see me. Thank you. Man, has it been how long ago? 5 years since I started that series. It's in here somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but there's the playlist, and here's the source code to accompany it. So, moving on. So I want to try to do a login, and sure, we'll try LinkedIn, and well, we hit a breakpoint. Cool. Do we have configuration for that? For LinkedIn, go ahead, check. We do not have config, so it's going to bail out. Okay, fine. That's kind of what I wanted it to do. Provider not available. So I need to update the login screen so that if I don't have that provider, it doesn't show it. I know I do have Microsoft over here, so it's going to check that. I know it has it. Developers. HL Carr, welcome. Hello. I have great examples on debugging in Visual Studio. Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome, John. I'm clearly not detecting if the configuration is there properly. Am I doing any more videos on the Minecraft server using C#? No. Not for a little bit. Can I say reorg? Yeah. That's where some of those values would be living. Am I passing them? Am I passing them in from Outpost? Website, yes, this one. Okay. So, where did I put it? I don't want to go in and actually show my configuration. Yeah, authentication name. So this should be configuration. Yeah. At which point I can do right. Do one of these. It's that. What? Over here. No. That one. And that doesn't need to be awaited. So we can get rid of that. Over here. I have to get used to get page down and home. No. Wrong keys. Okay, so that has client ID and secret. And in the middleware, I need to do the same thing. Instead of passing this, I need configuration. That's fine. Where are you getting that from? Here. So this goes away. And cool. Get rid of that. One of these. Get rid of that. Okay. That should work. Are people visiting and using Copilot, that John website much? I haven't posted a new article there in a while. So, no. Not... Things move quickly in the AI space. I need to go back and write some more articles and get some supporting content out there. I've been focused on this. I've been focused on a couple other things. I need to like schedule some time during the day that I'm just going to make let's go update article time and create and post articles to different places. So let's see how this goes. We should be, yeah. That's the other instance of the website. Come on. Yeah. So try to log in. Thank you. Over here to Microsoft. Breakpoint. So it should come back and say, yes, I do have config, and it allows it through. Yes, we're doing the external login, and it's going to go all the way through. Yes, my tokens have expired for Microsoft. That's okay. Kind of expected that. That's okay. Yeah, we'll fix that. Try GitHub. So step through this one. Right? And it should route me through to GitHub, right? Yeah. So that worked. I didn't see it. Well, it was already hang on. When does this happen? When does that happen? You can... This one. No, it's not that one. It's this one. Let me log out. That's a new one. I've seen this happen where you inadvertently have two sets of anti-forgery tokens on the page. One second. Really? What the heck? It's like, it's in a form right here. There it is, request verification token. Is there a second one of those? No. Well, that's annoying. Hey, Shashank. If you want to learn web development, where do you start? HTML. Spend some time learning HTML, how to do markup, how to create a web page that looks. But what's it take to make a hyperlink? What's it take to make headings, horizontal lines, tables, what divs and spans are? Go learn HTML first. That's the foundation for any web development that you're going to get into. Learn a little bit about how HTTP works, the protocol, right? When you type in a web address, right? See this HTTPS thing up here? What is that? That's called a protocol. That specifies to the browser, here's the tunnel. Here's how you're going to talk, the language of how you're going to talk to the web server. What's it mean to talk to a web server? How does that interaction happen? Learn the basics of what HTTP is. Because understanding how the browser talks to a server will then open up when you decide, hey, I want to program and generate these and have interactions that happen. How do I write code to enable that? Then you're going to get into either writing some JavaScript to run on the server, some Java or C# to run on the server, stuff like that. Start with just basic HTML and then learn the basics of how HTTP works. Move on from there to other high-level languages that'll help you with the coding. Continuing here. Why am I getting that logout, though? Like, that's weird. Right? What do we have on the context request? Really? Yeah, show me the raw on this. What do we got? You're not going to show it to me. You're not going to show it to me? Fine. Dareal Ishmael, hello, welcome. I was trying to view the immediate window here. Immediate window. Is it under debug? Control D. All right, fine. Come on. I want context request form. What do we got? No. Context. We are looking at what's the name? This thing. You stink. Give me that. There we go. Huh. Well, come here. Huh. I broke it. Hey, Warcaster. It was meant for a different user than the current user. Hang on. Hang on. Hey, that's cool, Rodrigo. Does it still think I'm in single user mode? Go ahead, finish doing your thing. Yeah. That one. Yeah. Does it think I'm in single user mode? It shouldn't. Yeah, false. So it should just fall through. Tell you what, I'm going to put a breakpoint in there so that I know if it assigns the other user. Yes. Middleware. So it didn't assign the other user, but let me back out and make sure I didn't break anything with introducing that middleware here. And I'll need to restart. So, while that's restarting, there we go. Maple Grove, Minnesota representing. There it is. Denver? Oh, yeah. I'll zoom out a bit. Fantastic. 17 locations on the map. So I want to make sure that it still works. Come on. Yo. So, right, make sure log out works. I hit this before, and it was like, it was like there's multiple tokens in there or something. Shoot. But that's just bypassing. Show me that error again. Tell me what you think, Copilot. Like, this is going to be a march to check this to work this through. Couldn't run. Well, that's painful. I need to fix my logout issue first here. But I don't, and so that I can test log in, log out. I didn't know I had an issue with the logout button. Let me make sure that other things in the system admin console still work. What a pain in the neck. So the logout button does a form post, and that's why it's coming back and saying, I don't recognize this. So the other forms that we have here, though, are not HTTP forms. They're Blazor forms. It doesn't actually submit. Right, so ta-da. And there's the various providers. So if I go in here and I say disable Blue Sky, save, go re-enable it, and it turns back on. That's not doing a post. That JavaScript does not load properly. Yep, there's the stuff for MCP Dev Days. So that doesn't actually, but when I click logout up here, oh, we actually had Copilot responding there. Where'd it go? You moved it over here. I want it over there. Yeah. If it is not already set or if the user is not authenticated. Right. Do I see any downsides? Let me bring up that. That's a interesting question. Let me bring that up. MRox Forever asks, do I see any downsides of using email one-time password codes for login instead of users ever having passwords? I don't see downsides to that. There's a number of services that do use that pattern. StreamYard, notably, is one that I use that does. You do not have a password. They email you a password. They email you a link to log in, and so that one-time code, you click that link and it does the login, and now you're authenticated. Yeah, you don't actually have a password to log in. I don't see a downside to that. However, you're still generating and keeping those codes somewhere on your system. I really like the idea of handing that authentication off to another service and using external login providers for that. Authenticate with GitHub, authenticate with Twitch. They do the authentication. I'm just hanging on to that access token, and then you have control of whether that access token is still valid. You can revoke it if you'd like from your provider. And at that point, any authentication into my system doesn't work with that. So, a couple different ways you can do it. One-time password isn't a bad idea at all, and there's a number of folks that use that commercially on the internet. So, thanks for the question. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Eddie was wondering about doing passkey in the app, but I use IDP, so it's really up to them to do it. Yes, it is up to them to do it. Passkey is becoming the more in vogue way to provide authentication. Not bad. Not bad. I'm not thrilled with it. I think there's other ways to do authentication. I would do the one-time password email first before I would do passkey, because passkey now couples you to a device, and if you don't have the device with you, you're not logging in. Yeah. Change this over. I want Claude Sonnet. The user is not being reset in this method. Where else could we be sending the wrong? Generating or sending the wrong anti-forgery token. See what it finds. So I'll let that grind away there. There we go. No, it isn't setting it to the admin user. I just said the user is not being reset in this method. Move it after authentication. But before anti-forgery. So, okay. There's authentication authorization. I'll move it. I don't think that's the deal here. Come here. Come here. And we'll restart. I don't think that's it. Hey, Zebcode, you've been looking into auth a little bit lately. You know, Microsoft likes to push Keycloak. We're not pushing Keycloak. It's something that we found that we thought was interesting that folks would like using. There's still work to be done before it's promoted actively. It does have a lot of nice options. One of the problems you've been having is that you wanted a flow where users can scan a QR code. They want or a two-factor authentication code generator. The problem with Keycloak is that it doesn't seem to support those flows. I don't know enough about Keycloak to speak towards that. You need to do something custom. There is configuration options for that. Well, there. Maybe it was right that I was doing those wrong. Go back to GitHub. Yeah, okay. I did have it wrong. Okay. So Copilot was right. Can't believe I just said that. Copilot was right. Implicit auth flow. Haven't looked into it, no. Why should I use implicit auth flow? see here. Okay, so if that's working, let me go back then to here. I want to see it hit that. But it never hits it. Let me have it skip this. For the purposes of testing, let's have it skip that. What are you doing over here? I told you to go away. Let's comment those out. So it always configures this on redirect so that we're dynamically setting those. It's more secure. It ensures that the person who initiated the flow is also the person who ends it. Charlie, I don't hear your voice anymore. Come on. Down here. So it's so it doesn't like those. Okay, fine. So instead of saying string is null or empty, let's set up some constants. Right? And put them in the middleware. Because I checked them over here also. Public constant string, the client ID dummy value. Dummy client ID. Because I know that's never going to be a value there. I did put a semi at the end. What do you... It's the hyphen. Thank you. Public const string client secret. Right, so this is just a stub value. So down here, when I check, I'm going to say thought I typed that. I'm going to say that does not equal client ID dummy. No, I was right the other way. That's not what I want. Hey, Napalm. Oh yeah, I'm still streaming. Absolutely. Aspire service software as a service factory project. Ooh, okay. These values shouldn't be here. They're because they might end up being two different ones. Using Martin and event sourcing. Okay. What? Yeah, go ahead. So now this becomes if client ID does not equal you're starting things around me here, Visual Studio, and not letting me. Okay. Yeah. Restart that. See what we get now. Blazor Hybrid is very interesting. And eventually this app is going to turn into a hybrid app. Came up with a cool idea. Want to mess with Blazor Hybrid? Yeah. Maui's been picking up speed and getting more concrete development that's been very good to see, quite frankly. Okay. There we go. So, right, section. Why is it a sections? Yeah. And we know those values are out of date, so I don't care about seeing them on screen. So at this point, it doesn't have the IDs. I need to still set the IDs. So I'm still going to set. Actually, I can force the values here. And they'll always be set. Yeah. Right? What I want to do is I want to make sure that these are always, for the purposes of this test, I want to make sure they're always the dummy values. Why you do this? What the heck was that? Control OKC. And I'm going to force these to the bogus values to make it seem like I have bad values. This return should be if client ID does not equal client ID dummy, and that should be, yeah, there we go. And client secret. But for right now, for testing, comment it out. Yeah, they do. There are some folks in the community who are former Xamarin community members who, regardless of the state of the product, they want to see that part of the product fail. Regardless. It doesn't matter if they gave away free puppies with each application that was submitted to an app store. They don't care. They want to see it fail. They feel that .NET has wronged the memory of their beloved Xamarin. All right, so that should... Yeah, go away. We should get into those being set up with bad IDs. Now we go log in and we try GitHub. So now I hit the event handler that I've been trying to get to. So it's going to go get configuration. It has a client ID and client secret, and that is a valid client ID. And it's going to... I have that backwards. I do this too much. If it equals the dummy value, or that equals the dummy value, bail out. If this lets me log in with Google, not GitHub, should be all right. Twitch ads getting out of hand. Yeah, that's... I can't disagree with you on that. Here we go. I do appreciate the 17 folks that are watching over there on YouTube. Thanks so much. Come on, load up here. What? What happened there? I'm getting 404s on everything. What? No, it's not a port. It's not a port issue. Hang on. Over here. Huh. Yeah, it's... What do we got over here? No. Why am I getting... That's a middleware issue. But I'm not hitting... I'm not hitting this. I should be seeing that on every request. I'm going to chalk this up to something patched. It didn't load properly. there is a lot of Microsoft bought Xamarin and not liking, yeah. Yeah. You love the I don't want to give my information to Microsoft argument from people using Gmail and Google Docs. Yeah. There's definitely some irony there. What the heck? It's not hitting here. Like, it's not hitting that part of the middleware. Well, I don't have it added yet. Right? I removed that down there. Wait a sec. Even then, hang on. Yeah, that's not going to run. But I'm not even using that logger. Go away. Hey, Burger B, how you doing? Yeah, I need to put the attention sound effects. I need to reload all the sound effects. They're sitting out there, and Charlie knows how to use them. I need to rewire that feature. So, come on. And then it's going to pop the other browser. There, it works. All right, log in, GitHub, and it hits my on redirect. Developers. Hey, how you doing there, Marvs? Welcome. That doesn't feel right. Well, okay, hang on. That's double checking configuration. Do we have these values? I'm going to skip that. Go down here and let it set the values. It didn't grab the right client ID. Hang on. No, well, maybe I was right. Try it again. So it's going to get the values dynamically, check, set the values, let it flow through. My configuration. Do that again. All right. Client ID is that. So now I'm trying to change the client ID and the client secret right there. Right? Those are the GitHub authentication options. And it's set those values. And the redirect URI has the client ID in it now. That worked. Okay, so we can dynamically set this. Holy crow. Holy crow. This is really freaking cool. This is really cool. Okay, I've got a bunch of test code in there. Let's unwind this. Right? Here, if those are And I could have left that in there. Run that one more time just to make sure that it should skip through that. This I want to go after my maintained configuration, not the app settings ASP.NET Core configuration, because my configuration is stored in the database, and I'll be able to read and get those values. I should be able to log out here as well. That worked. Log in. GitHub. So it did jump through because I was forced those. That should now work. Why didn't it work? Yeah. Oh. This is a scoping issue. That was a scoping issue. Ooh. I haven't had a good scoping issue like that in a while. Okay. Hit that. Come on, load up now. Mm-hmm. There it is. It's still going to the wrong ID. Right? It gets to here. Why aren't you... Right? It's got the value. Now it works. Breakpoint. Now it works. No breakpoint. Okay. Should not have gone there. It didn't pick up the client ID. I'm... Right, there's a var up here. These values... let's call these, just to make sure they are... Yes, I know. Should be able to hot reload that. And I got to restart. And then we're going to commit this. It is right about, just about there. Eddie Dre was particularly interested in seeing this type of customization on this. And I think we got it. I have a meeting that I need to get to about .NET Conf swag. And then I've got a couple more .NET Conf marketing meetings this morning to get to. Let's see here. All right. That's correct. But it's still going to the other ID. That worked. Do that again. The redirect URI is github.com login. See, it has the client ID there already, even before it was set. It's already set. The redirect URI. Somewhere that's that redirect context is being recalculated somewhere. Interesting. Claims issuer. Come here, you. What the heck was that?
Your progress through this debugging session has been impressive.
Thank you.
By impressive I mean terrible, and by cake I mean lies.
Stop it! Hey, Eric, how you doing? Let me see if I can find anything about this. What? The redirect URI. What the? Really? does not appear to be recalculated after the client ID and client secret are assigned on lines 52 and 53. How can I force it to be recalculated? See what it says. Yeah, we need to manually reconstruct it. How? You're kidding. Really? All right, let's give that a try. And then I got to cut out here. You. See how that does. Because it clearly recalculates and has the right client ID and URL the second time through. Like, okay, I'm glad you have it the second time, but I need it the first time also. Okay, log in. GitHub. Yeah, because you hit a breakpoint. Authorization endpoint is the GitHub location. Okay. It's got the old dummy client ID. So step through that. So do we have that? Yes. So what happens if I let that flow? Yeah. It recalculates the OAuth state. There's something in the OAuth state that's being recalculated. And I don't think that's it. I'm going to need to dig into this a little bit, but let me commit those changes into my working branch, and then we're going to get out of here. Yeah, add all of that. Almost working. Need to validate the OAuth state calculation. And I bet Copilot has some insight into what I'm doing there that I can address. But for now, I need to call it a day. I've got a couple meetings to get to. My apologies. I've got folks scheduling morning meetings right over my right over my streams here. Big thanks to everybody who tuned in. It's been a bit of fun. We're getting this idea of dynamic OAuth provider built and added into the application. What we'll eventually have is a series of OAuth providers just installed with Tags app. Not just Microsoft and Google and GitHub and LinkedIn, but we'll throw Twitch in there. We'll throw a handful of these out there so that you can log in with any one of those providers and it will do that dynamic swap out of the client ID, client secret, and the reroute. We're almost there, and it's just a bit to get that configured. Hey, Corey. So let me see who else is streaming, and I'm going to wrench on this a little bit later today, see if I can get this to go through. You'll see the comments and discussion on the Discord. Taking a look around the horn. Let's get you connected with... No. Oh my goodness. We haven't seen him in a while. Let's go raid Captain Coder. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, I'll be back on Thursday. We'll be doing more coding. We're going to get this working with this dynamic auth, and then we're going to have a user interface so that you can configure the external logins from the admin screen. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get ready to say hi to the Captain Coder if you're watching on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got lots of other great videos for you. Replays of all my recent streams down below over here on the site. Depends on which YouTube app you're using. All right. I will see you on Thursday. And until then, I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.